Brock Purdy gets 5 years, $265 million, $181 million guaranteed. I've been excited for this conversation because, Frank, you've squarely been in the camp of Brock Purdy. I don't know how they'll font that when they bring that out for actual speech. But where are you now with the 5-year, $265 million, $180 million guaranteed deal?
First of all, congrats to Brock Purdy. This is one of the cool stories in sports. It really is. Like, this guy goes from Mr. Irrelevant, and like his signing bonus was like 100 times what he made on his rookie deal, something crazy like that. Good for him. Like, I think it's great how he leveraged this, how he got paid, all that. Congrats to Brock Purdy, and he's earned it. Like, he's played very, very well. I still am in the same thing. I'm still saying I don't think the 49ers can win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy making $53 million a year. I just don't. I don't think they can put the pieces around him to replicate what they've done the past few years. My opinion hasn't changed of that. I think this is the one team that should have leveraged the rookie deal with quarterbacks, because I think Kyle Shanahan can find the next Brock Purdy. Like, I will always say that Kyle Shanahan is the cheat code there when you look at his offensive history, but that doesn't matter because teams just pay quarterbacks. They just do. They blindly do it. Nobody has bucked the trend, really. So congrats to Brock Purdy, and I don't think congrats to the 49ers because I don't think they're winning a title with him.
They didn't pay him blindly, though, Frank. I mean, this is what I don't understand, is that we sit here and we gripe about teams paying quarterbacks. Like, how can you pay Jordan Love with, such a short resume? Like, the guy barely put in a season of football, and you sign him this massive contract extension. How can you pay Tua with the concussion history? How can you pay Trevor Lawrence when he's never really arrived in the NFL in the way that we expected? Well, when you go and you talk to these teams and you ask them why, it's pretty simple. They're like, there's really no other alternative, and we know this guy. We know what we need to do to build around him. We know what his strengths and weaknesses are. We've already got a blueprint in place. So it's either reboot, which puts everybody at jeopardy, all the veterans on the roster in jeopardy. There's not a great quarterback to go out there and just get. What were the 49ers going to do? You're going to just get rid of Brock Purdy and trade for Kirk Cousins? Is that any better? It's not. And so to me, I think, look, it's the 7th best quarterback deal in the league right now in terms of slotting. He's sitting there with Jared Goff, another guy who I'm sure Frank will tell you, I don't know if the Lions can win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. Well, that's kind of how it works with quarterbacks who are in that 7, 8, 9, 10 range. You kind of don't know if you can win Super Bowls with those guys. So you just make do with the best you can. They didn't reset the quarterback market when they paid him with this deal. The salary cap is flying upward, right?
That's true.
By the time Brock Purdy's in his mid-30s, they'll have torn up the TV deal, and the salary cap will probably be $500 million a year for teams by the time Brock Purdy is in his mid-30s. Okay? So to me, it's as long as they didn't reset the market, and frankly, I didn't want to see him crack the top 5. I thought when I saw it slotted next to Goff, I'm like, all right, yeah, this is the world you live in. When you have a good quarterback, but not necessarily an elite quarterback, this is the kind of money they make, and you have to figure out how to manage the landscape around them. So, look, you just give me the alternative. If you can tell me what a better alternative was, because it wasn't in the draft this year, clearly, they're not going to have a pick high enough really to get an elite player next year, unless you're just like tear it down, tank, start all over again.
No.
That's not where they are. So, Frank, what's your alternative?
The alternative was always thinking ahead on this and thinking, we're not going to pay Brock Purdy $53 million a year. Let's get ahead of this now. Let's draft.
How would they have done that, though, Frank? That's what I'm asking you. Give me the option they had a couple of years ago to get ahead on this.
I don't know. I can't sit here and go through the entire draft class of the last few years, but I do think, look, Kyle Shanahan, if I've said this a million times, if the 49ers covered Jet Chip Wasp, or the referees called the obvious holding on that play, Jimmy Garoppolo wins the Super Bowl at the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan's the cheat code here. And I've always thought that. And I think that once the biggest edge in professional sports, and we all agree on this, the biggest edge you can have is a good quarterback in his rookie deal. Everybody agrees to that. And I think part of the reason the 49ers were in this Super Bowl window the past few years is because they were paying their quarterback nothing. And they had Debo and Kittle and Ayuk and Trent Williams and C-Mac and all these guys. And now that edge goes away. Okay, and I thought they should have been leveraging this already and trade Brock Purdy for assets, which they could have done.
Best like ceiling Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo, which is the better player at their best?
Oh, Purdy by far.
Okay, so Purdy's better. Shanahan didn't win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. He came close.
Yes, but come on.
You keep calling you keep calling him the cheat code. But what quarterback has won a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan as the OC or the head coach? Which quarterback?
Well, yes, they've blown some Super Bowls. I get that, but you can't sit here and say you can't win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. They would have won a Super Bowl if Jimmy Garoppolo had the defense done its job on a 3rd and long against Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes beat them. I get that, all that. But to say, like, you can't win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, they were that close. And we all know.
You
were at the game. I was at the game.
But you're just sitting here arguing with me, telling me that you think that Brock Purdy's ceiling is better than Jimmy Garoppolo's, and you said, you can't tell me they couldn't win with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo is not a very good quarterback. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's just very average, and they still almost won a Super Bowl. They should have won a Super Bowl with him. That's my whole point.
Better. And this player's better.
Let me chime in here, though, like, Frank, because I guess my pushback is what you're saying in theory makes a lot of sense. Like, go find another quarterback. When you actually look at it, like when you take a look at who's been available and who is there for them, sure, none of us saw Brock Purdy coming. I understand that. But even the argument that I've heard several people make over the last few days of let's just find a mid-level quarterback, we'll bring him in, we'll draft somebody and see if we can find the next Brock Purdy. Okay, well, who's that mid-level guy that you were going to bring in? Like, and then how much money are you spending on Brock versus what
That's the whole thing. That's the next Brock Purdy. We didn't know Brock Purdy was coming. We wouldn't have known. I consider.
What if Brock's a diamond in the rough, though? Like, I mean,
what if he's not? What if he's not? We all think that. He was just a diamond in the rough. He's the outlier. If he goes to any other of the 31 teams, does he have this success?
Every single data point in the draft says he's an outlier. He was the last pick in the draft, right?
Do we think that Brock Purdy?
Don't ever
do we think that if the Raiders, the Jets, the Broncos, even if we think that they drafted Brock Purdy in the 7th round, does he have the same level of success? I say no.
No, but why didn't they have that success with Trey Lance?
That's my whole point.
Trey Lance was the 3rd overall pick.
And I'm not
Trey
saying,
Lance is the counter to that.
Where's the cheat code for Trey Lance?
I'm not saying Kyle could take any quarter. Trey was a bad fit. And I've taken my L's on that, C-Rob. I know you want to bring up Trey Lance because you love that.
Trey Lance is literally the blue screen of death. Okay? There's no cheat code that can fix that.
He cannot take any quarterback. That's the thing. There's a difference between he could take any quarterback and make him a star, or he could take a guy we don't expect. Yes, maybe you take multiple shots. Maybe you do what the Browns did this year. You draft Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and say, here, Kyle, make these guys what they are. I trust that more than I trust the Browns making that work, right? Like, when I
who's
say,
the quarterback
would
in the
anybody
interim?
else, when I say, would any other team have had this success with Brock Purdy, and you guys agree that it's no, what are we saying then? We're not saying Brock Purdy is a diamond in the rough. We're saying that Kyle Shanahan and, again, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Hall of Fame level dudes, Kittle, they helped Brock Purdy so much be that quarterback. I think San Francisco could have just kept replicating that over and over and over.
Okay.
You give Kyle enough shots.
A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith,
Yes.
Dallas Goedert,
Yes,
offensive line that is up the wazoo with all pros.
Again, if you're just saying NFL teams can win a Super Bowl, if you could win a Super Bowl if you draft like Howie Roseman. Well, yeah, no kidding. If I could swear like Charles, I would have sworn.
You don't think any of those guys make Jalen Hurts better? You don't think the surrounding pieces don't elevate them?
Of course, they've been on such a heater draft wise and ripping the Titans off for A.J. Brown and all that kind of stuff. Howie's been on such a heater. You can't replicate that. But I just think that when we look at this situation, what made the San Francisco 49ers a Super Bowl contender? It was not Brock Purdy. It was all the guys around him and the coach who's an offensive genius. Like, look, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of the Shanahans, and they're not the biggest fan of me anyway. But Kyle Shanahan is an unbelievably good NFL coach who just chokes in Super Bowls and NFC championships and all that. I get that. Okay, I get that. But offensively, he is a genius just like his dad was. And they can turn guys in. It's almost like Mike with the running backs, right? Like Reuben Drones is running for 1,000 yards this year. I think Kyle could be that way with quarterbacks, but they don't want to leverage that because of the unknown, because it's scary, because it's like, oh no, who are we going to get? We might get the next Trey Lance. Well, you might get the next Brock Purdy too, and then you reopen your Super Bowl window.
This is the way we're starting off. We're sparring with heavy gloves and no headgear today, man. Because you're just spouting nonsense. I'm sorry, man. This is crazy.
You don't think Kyle's a great offensive coach?
I think Kyle is a great offensive coach. I also think I heard you say, well, you can't tell me they couldn't win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo and
They
then say,
almost
yes,
did. They
Brock
should've.
Purdy is, and then yes, Brock Purdy is a better player than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yes.
What am I not understanding here? So you said they could win one with Jimmy. So, but they
bad
can't
quarterback.
with Brock.
Jimmy's not a top 10. Jimmy's not a top 20 quarterback. Even
But you said they could win one with him.
They should have won one.
But you're saying they can't with Brock.
Right. Well,
but Brock's a better
Jimmy
player.
Garoppolo not making any money and having all these pieces around him. Whole situation.
What the hell are you talking about, Frank? They traded for Jimmy Garoppolo and they signed him to the biggest quarterback deal in the league. Frank, he made him the highest paid player in the NFL.
Yes, but I think it's the salary difference is so much more massive now. And I get it. The salary cap has gone up. I do get that. But I'm just saying the situation in San Francisco is what makes these quarterbacks, not the other way around.
Look, I think I've said this for a long time to both of you. I think sometimes we got to look at these things as like an 80s wrestling tag team. It's not one or. It's not, was it Brady or Belichick? It is fodder for stupid talk shows that want to yell into the microphone. To me, it was Brady and Belichick, right? Like, is it Reed or is it Mahomes? Maybe it's Reed and Mahomes. Like, why can't it be that this is Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy together, who not only are they both pretty good at what they do, but you put the two of them together and it seems to be an electric combination that works. And I don't know that you could just presume that any other quarterback is going to be an electric combination that works. So if I'm the 49ers at this point, again, looking at the fact that this deal didn't reset the market, I mean, this deal put them in the 50s, right? So I'm looking at it as an organization and saying, even if I wanted to go Frank's route, even if I want to draft Dylan Gabriel and just see where it goes, I still need a starting quarterback, right? And while I develop and see what Dylan Gabriel looks like, and that starting quarterback, whether it's Geno Smith or Sam Darnold, is likely to cost me mid-30s, 40s. Like, we're talking about $10 million difference.
Fitz,
I'm keeping the guy I like for $10 million. What?
Fitz. Okay, so he's slotted with Jared Goff, right?
Yeah.
Who have the Lions not paid? Tell me.
Who's
the star they have not extended?
Well, they got a lot of guys coming up, though.
Okay, I mean, but so far they figured that out, right?
So far, but they haven't. They also won. Like, I mean, I mean that window's going to be closing pretty soon too. I think we'd agree on that. Like, that's going to be hard once you get to Branch and Laporta and Gibbs, and I mean, they're going to be in salary cap mess pretty soon. Like, we agree on that.
So maybe drafting well is really the answer here. It's not necessarily do or don't pay Brock, do or don't pay Jalen Hurts. Just draft well. Okay? I mean, that's as simple as that. If you draft well, you're going to have guys on cheap contracts contributing, doing the things they need to do to win Super Bowls, just like the Eagles. The Eagles reloaded and won a Super Bowl because Howie drafted his ass off on the defensive side of the ball. And there are a bunch of... okay, I mean, John Lynch, they've been...
It's like go hit like Shohei Ohtani. Like, okay, that's awesome. I mean,
John Lynch pretty good. He's pretty good GM. That's a pretty good draft. Picks some pretty good players.
They've had some pretty bad picks, too.
Can we at least agree?
Howie took Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson.
I know. That's his one, yeah. And he also paid, God, I can't even remember his name, the pass rusher for the Jets. He got more money than Saquon last year. Everybody forgets
was there for like a day. It was there for a day.
No, I'm not talking about Hassan. Yeah. I'm talking about the guy they signed who had one great year at the Jets and came aboard. Huff. They signed Bryce Huff. He was their big signing last year. Everybody forgets that. He made more money than Saquon last year. But yes, Howie has made some mistakes. I get that. But he's made so many home runs that it just doesn't matter. The Eagles, you can't even compare the Eagls. Again, it's like saying, like, well, if this guy could just hit home runs like Aaron Judge, like, yeah, okay. That's great in theory. But the Eagles are so far above and beyond everybody else.
I want to go back in history and find out how many deals quarterbacks signed that Frank was okay with. Because it might be zero.
Maybe Frank's just a quarterback hater. Maybe Frank's just a quarterback hater.
I think Frank just doesn't like to see anybody get paid realistically. He says he does, but I just don't like
mid-tier. I just don't like mid-tier quarterbacks getting paid elite money because it ruins your Super Bowl window.
Well, then you don't like anybody but the top three quarterbacks in the league because they're almost all mid-tier.
The quarterback market is out of control. Like, guys who don't deserve to be making twice what TJ Watt makes are making this. And do we think the Jaguars are winning Super Bowl with Trevor Lawrence on that contract? No, because he's not worth it. He hasn't proven.
I mean, is that contract the reason that the Jags aren't winning the Super Bowl? If we're being honest,
it's all reason.
Okay, put Trevor. I mean, you put Trevor back on a rookie deal. You're still asking the Jags to appropriately draft around Trevor Lawrence, to build the right team around Trevor Lawrence, to make them a perennial Super Bowl contender. And I want to believe in a new regime as much as any Jags fan does. Huzzah! I hope you get what you want out of this. But my God, there's absolutely no proof of concept that the Jags know how to build anything with anybody. So the Jags are failing Trevor Lawrence.
The salary cap has been around since 1993. So we have a pretty good window here. This isn't a small sample size. Before Patrick Mahomes, who's one of the greatest of all time, no quarterback making more than 15% of their team's cap had ever won a Super Bowl. I don't think that's a fluke. I don't think that's this team is 7-0 and there's a full moon on Mondays type of stat. I think that's correlation. That once you pay one guy a majority of your salary cap, it makes it hard to build a Super Bowl team. This is still a team game. And once you pay a guy that much, there's a reason before Mahomes, who's an outlier, by the way, there's a reason that for 30 some odd years of the salary cap, no quarterback making more than 15% of his team's cap had ever won a Super Bowl. That's
but again,
correlated.
I'll credit Stats and Info at ESPN. When I worked there, they pulled the numbers for me. And if you looked at a 12-year period before I left ESPN, which was 2 years ago, so 14 years, if you looked at that 12-year period, the percentage of quarterbacks that were on their rookie deal versus the percentage of quarterbacks that were not on a rookie deal making the Super Bowl was about 50-50. There was no real empirical data. I continually say this. If the argument is you can't pay quarterbacks, the argument's actually you can't pay anybody. The only top paid player in his position that's ever won a Super Bowl in the year he was top paid player was Rob Gronkowski, right? So that argument says don't pay anybody. So I think I genuinely believe the concept that you can't win if your quarterback's not on a rookie deal is a complete fallacy. I don't believe anybody's sitting here saying, well, don't bet on the Chiefs this year because Patrick Mahomes cost too much of the salary cap.
I think there's outliers. Mahomes,
do you
Allen,
believe
Jackson,
that the Bills are hamstrung in any way, shape, or form
Josh
by
Allen?
Josh
Allen's elite. Josh Allen is one of the best players in the NFL. There's 5 guys walking this earth who are just above and beyond everybody. Doesn't matter scheme, coaches, teammates, anything. It's Mahomes, it's Allen, it's Jackson. We all know the names, right? Those guys deserve to get paid. Pay them what I've said. If you paid Lamar Jackson $100 million, it's probably not enough. That's what he's worth. He is unbelievably good walking into the Hall of Fame and should have another MVP on his mantle right now. But the other guys, I'm talking about the middle class. I wouldn't pay the middle class. Some team
if you
is
don't
going to
pay the middle
leverage
class, you end up with Aiden O'Connell. If you don't pay the middle class, you end up with no shot at anything.
And most teams do because they can't develop quarterbacks and they don't know what to do with them. What are one of the teams who I trust to actually find a quarterback diamond in the rough? Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers. I would trust Kyle to find the next Brock Purdy. That's my whole point of this. I trust Kyle Shanahan. That's my point in all this.
I don't know how we can trust the same organization that blew the 3rd overall pick.
It literally took the dude
that pick. They didn't fit.
It took him every pick in the draft to find Brock Purdy. Literally the last opportunity he had to find Brock Purdy in the draft, the very last, that's when he found him. He didn't find Brock Purdy. He got lucky. And Brock Purdy landed in his lap.
Why didn't we apply this argument to the Patriots forever? The Patriots found Tom Brady, so I guess the Patriots never needed to spend a first-round pick again on a quarterback. It just doesn't work. Tom Brady was an outlier. Brock Purdy is an outlier. I think the concept that, Belichick and the Patriots did not sit here and just constantly churn and burn the next Tom Brady. Everybody thought they could. They didn't. They found other capable quarterbacks, but they didn't find another Tom Brady. So how's that any different here? The concept that they got it right one time.
We'll see, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Again, I don't think the 49ers are a Super Bowl contender with Brock Purdy.
You get it
making
right
as much
once,
as he is. Making as much as he is.